Radio you can depend on. News Talk KZRG, FM 102.9, AM 1310. News Talk KZRG. KZRG News Time 739. On the live line this morning, we have Senator Roy Blunt. Good morning, Senator.
Hey, good morning, Chad. How are you this morning?
I'm doing great. Thank you for taking the time out to visit with us this morning. Now, I understand you have actually seen the video of the takedown of Osama bin Laden.
Well, I haven't seen the anything inside the building. All we were shown in the Intelligence Committee was the video of the landing, the entrance and the exit to the building. But our forces did a great job. I thought the president's decision to go in and send people to be sure that justice was done, that Osama bin Laden was brought to justice, was a much better decision than dropping a Predator missile on the building or doing something else. And then, of course, the big additional benefit of the SEAL team going in is what they came out with. They came out with lots of information, and frankly, Chad, we don't know what's on all those disk drives or on all those all that material that we brought out. But Al-Qaeda doesn't either, and we'll be spending a lot of time analyzing that material. Our intelligence community will in great detail. But in the meantime, I hope this is unbelievably disruptive to Al-Qaeda and may even lead to other opportunities to go after the leadership of Al-Qaeda or the plans of Al-Qaeda, and I hope it does.
Good morning, Senator. Josh Marsh of the KZRG Morning News Watch. Honored to have you on board. We appreciate you taking the time to stop by and check in with us. And now I know that a big concern of many has been the photo of Osama bin Laden actually killed. Now, I didn't know if that was a big interest to you, if you'll be looking to view that, if that's a priority for you, or your thoughts on that matter.
You know, Josh, I've been invited to go out to the CIA, the Intelligence Committee has, and look at all of those photos. I don't need to do that. I don't know that I won't do it if I become convinced that it's important for me to be able to tell the people that I work for and my colleagues in the Senate that I've seen the photos. I may go out and do that, but I was pretty neutral on what the president did with the photos. I was supportive of his sense that, one, it might not help, and it certainly might hurt to be showing those photos to everyone. If you don't believe the DNA, if you don't believe Al-Qaeda saying Osama bin Laden's dead, if you don't believe his family saying he's dead, you're probably not going to believe some photo either. You know, you could take any photo, I'm sure, of Osama bin Laden and make it look like he was dead if at least people would believe you could. Mm-hmm. So I actually have been pretty critical about a lot of the president's foreign policy decisions, including what I think has been the overuse of the Predator missile, where we've killed lots of the Al-Qaeda leadership, but we haven't found out any new information. We haven't left with whatever they had in their backpack or their briefcase. We haven't left with them to give them questioning. So I've been pretty critical of that. And in this case, I frankly think the president made a series of good decisions, and in foreign policy, I don't think his record's been all that great in making good decisions, so I want to be supportive when I think he is right and able to be critical when I think he's not.
Well, we have word that Senator Lieberman is out trying to save Gitmo. Where are you on that process?
Well, I think it's clear that Gitmo serves a purpose. The president's been president now almost approaching 2.5 years, and his day one pledge that he made many times during the campaign, but I think signed an order again the day he was sworn in, we're going to close Gitmo. It was a bad decision on his part, and thank goodness he's never been able to execute that decision. Those people at Gitmo need to be there. The trials that need to happen should happen there with military tribunals, not in New York City or in Washington, D.C., where the 9/11 crimes occurred. And I can't think of a better place, frankly, for these war criminals who have been captured in clearly what is a war against us to be kept. What state, they tried to move them to prisons in Illinois, and they talked about moving them to a prison maybe at Fort Leavenworth. And obviously, people in those communities should be concerned about that. Why would you want this to be another target of Al-Qaeda revenge on some community in the United States? Keep Gitmo open, and hopefully we'll be able to close Gitmo one of these days, because we've truly eliminated the threat we face from our unprincipled terrorist enemies.
KZRG News Time is 7:44. Speaking with Senator Roy Blunt this morning, and Senator, switching gears just a bit, gas prices. Obviously, seeing those balloon back up to a mark that's fairly unprecedented, because we're looking at it before the summer, really. Gas prices hitting just about $4 a gallon. Is there any efforts being made in the Senate to deal with this? I mean, what are your thoughts on the prices, and what do you think needs to be done? What action needs to be taken?
If we just send the signal that we were going to go after our own energy resources, that would have impact on the world marketplace of oil. The United States is the only country in the world where a significant number of leaders look at the natural resources, and instead of thinking economic opportunity, they think the two words they think are environmental hazard. We need more American energy of all kinds. And Chad and Josh, this discussion of the Democrats in the Senate that we can somehow solve this problem by raising taxes on U.S.-based oil companies, like that doesn't get passed along at the pump. Remember, this is the administration where the Secretary of Energy, when he was governor at the end of 2008, before he was chosen as Secretary of Energy, said what we really need to have with gas prices is we need to get them closer to European gas prices, which is about $10 a gallon. I mean, their plan was to raise the cost of energy. It looks like to me they're doing a pretty good job with their plan, but it also looks like to me that they have figured out that raising electricity bills with cap and trade and gasoline pump prices is economically disastrous for the United States of America, and hopefully the president doesn't want to preside over an economic disaster, but wants to begin. I'd like to see him do some things that help create jobs and lower energy prices, including gasoline prices, create American jobs.
I certainly think many people would agree with you. And Senator Claire McCaskill, she came out and said that taxpayers should not be subsidizing oil companies. I mean, what are your thoughts and reactions to that? Along with, some of our listeners, they voice concern because they agree with a lot of things that you say, but they're concerned that you're too connected to quote-unquote big oil, and that influences your decision.
Well, there are 5 big U.S. oil companies. There's no question about that. We need more. We need to encourage them to do more U.S. oil production, not less. And if you change the U.S. law, which is already not very good compared to worldwide tax law for energy companies, all you're going to do is drive them to produce their energy in other places. It doesn't produce much money for the federal government, but it does produce a lot of extra cost at the gas pump. And I appreciate the fact that every time the president finds himself in a corner, he starts talking about tax breaks for big oil companies. They get a lesser tax break than any other manufacturing company does. On one hand, we all believe we should see more American manufacturing, and on the other hand, you want to take away the manufacturing encouragement that we give all companies. It's already lower for oil companies than anybody else, and their return is about 8% on total investment, which is in the lower part of the major companies in the country. If you put all that money on the table and you're only making 8%, that's not out of line with what a company has to do to stay in business. So, if you want higher prices at the gas pump, raise the cost of oil companies to get oil and gas to the gas pump. But again, while that may be the president's goal to get prices higher, it's foolish, and it is disproportionately impactful on people who may not even pay very many other taxes, because they still have to get in that car and maybe drive 50 miles to get to Joplin or Monette or Cassville to the job they have. If you're live in Manhattan and you ride the subway, I guess you don't care much about what the gas prices are. I do, and Missourians do, and this is clearly just a political distraction rather than deal with the real spending problems that the federal government has.
KZRG News Time, 749 on the live line this morning. We're talking with Senator Roy Blunt. The president's going to meet with Senate Republicans today to talk about the debt ceiling, about cutting our deficit. How do you think those talks are going to go this morning?
Oh, I'm going to go to the White House this morning, and I'm going to listen, and I'm always optimistic till proven wrong, and I'd like to think that the president understands that the debt ceiling, I'm not going to vote to increase the debt ceiling unless there's serious structural reform, unless we're going to clearly stop doing what we've been doing and head in another direction. I'm not going to vote to increase the debt ceiling. The president may be able to get it passed, but he'll pass it without me. I guarantee you that, unless he's willing to look at things like the balanced budget amendment, enforceable spending caps, real structural change that ensures that we head the government in a totally different direction on spending. And we'll see what the president has to say, and we'll see if he says it without a teleprompter, and how serious he really is about solving this problem.
Speaker John Boehner says that he's going after trillions of dollars. Speaking of optimism, how realistic do you think that that is?
Well, you have to go after trillions of dollars in the 10-year budget window, because we're borrowing $44 billion every day. And by the way, that's how much money all of this talk about more taxes on oil companies would bring in total one day's borrowing. So, we're talking about little things instead of reforming the programs that really save money. This year, we're spending $3.8 trillion at the federal level, and we're collecting $2.2 trillion. So, in 1 year alone, it's a $1.6 trillion problem. I don't know how much money $1 trillion is for sure, and neither does the Secretary of the Treasury. It's so much money, nobody can deal with it. But you and I both know if you're making $22,000 and you're spending $38,000, and you've already borrowed more money at your house than anybody should ever loan you, you've got a big problem that you've got to deal with. Or if your business is making $2 million, bringing in $2 million and spending almost $4 million, you've got a big problem. And so we have to deal with this. John Boehner is right, and we've got to look. Everything has to be on the table. Defense programs have to be on the table. The big mandatory spending programs, we have to find a way to reform those in a way that ensures that you two guys have a chance to benefit from things like Social Security and Medicare, and that Medicaid works better than it's working right now for state-run programs that every state is being overwhelmed by. So we've got to really get serious about the things that, frankly, the president's unwilling to talk about. He wants to talk about saving $4 billion on something, which is one day's borrowing, when we need to be talking about how do we close the gap of almost $2 trillion, and that's just in 1 year, not in the 10-year budget window.
KZRG News Time, 7:53. Senator Roy Blunt, thank you for your time this morning.
Hey, guys, great to talk to both of you, and look forward to being there soon. Hopefully I can get by the studio again one of these days.
Look forward to it.
We really like that. Good luck with those meetings with the president today. Thank you very much.
See ya.
KZRG News Time, 7:53. Trivia is next.
That term, futures trading, it's got us